Good morning, my beautiful people. Today is a spectacular day in France. It's one of those incredible autumn days when you see the reds, the yellows, the golds, even a few greens. The sky is this deep blue, and nature is calling me, luring me in with its absolute spectacular beauty. And it's a real reminder in these crazy times when COVID is moving to new levels in many countries, when the world seems to be panicking once again as the second wave becomes a tsunami. But when in reality, when we take a step back and we look from that eagle perspective, nothing has changed. Yes, perhaps some people's health situation has accelerated or decelerated. Yes, statistics are going up. Yes, we have the US elections, but when you look beyond the headlines, when you look beyond the news, we're still here on this planet. And no one mentions it at all. And people talk about wearing masks, people talk about cleaning their hands, people talk about social distancing and staying a long way from each other. But very few people are talking about the best ways and the best steps we can take, or to build our immune systems up to protect ourselves. And I'm not going to go into details about all the different ways we can do that, but nutrition, exercise, spending time outdoors, breathing deeply from the abdomen instead of breathing from the lungs, taking on supplements if necessary like zinc and vitamin D, meditating, creating some space in our lives to relax. And the one that very few people talk about, which perhaps isn't an official scientific way, but for me is perhaps my best defense system and my strongest mechanism against something like this, is beauty. I'm not talking about looking in the mirror and going, oh, you're looking good, but you can do that if you want. No, I'm talking about looking at the planet, looking at the trees, looking at nature, watching the animals, watching the birds, listening to the music of life, putting yourself in a green space if you're allowed to leave your house, if there is that opportunity and that space to go to, and just taking a sacred pause. That's why we call this the sacred pause, because it means you take a break from life, you take a break from the rat race, and you bathe in the love and the beauty of life. Now, that can literally just be opening up a window in your house or your apartment or your tent or your cave, wherever you live, taking 3 deep breaths and just focusing your eyes on a tree and breathing in that tree, breathing in the beauty of it. I'm very lucky that my house backs onto a farm, so I look at the tree, I watch the cows, I listen to the bells ringing from the cows. I smell that sweet kind of smell of autumn. It's difficult to articulate, but it's very earthy. It's Pachamama at her most divine. And when you get into that place and that space, it can only take 5-6 seconds, maybe 10 seconds. And you just say to yourself, inhale as you breathe in. And you watch your breath going from the base of your spine to your crown. And then exhale. And you actually just say the words inhale and exhale, or breathe in, breathe out, or whatever it is in your own language. And just this focus, the eyes on the beauty, the nose on the scent of autumn, the ears on the silence or the bells of the cows or the wind in the trees, and the mind on the inhale and the exhale. And when you do that, an exercise which is just so simple and so basic, you can't help but be in that moment, because you're no longer worrying about that thing that's been nagging at the back of your mind, about the past. You're no longer pondering what might be and what it'll be like if you get the virus, or if you lose someone, or what the world's going to be like if there's a new president in the US. Because it's irrelevant. It's completely irrelevant. It doesn't matter if it's Donald Trump. The news might tell us that if it's Trump, the world's going to be one way, and if it's Biden, the world's going to be another. Because that won't change your life. Yes, it might change politics. There'll be different stories and a different face in front of you if it's Biden. There'll be good old Donald Trump plastered all over the papers once again if it's Trump. But actually, it only affects your life if you let it affect you. It might change some of the logistics in your life. Maybe some of the policies might have an impact on your job. Maybe it might affect Brexit if you're in the UK, if it's Trump or Biden. But at a heart level, it is all irrelevant. It's just there. It's the background noise. And if you choose not to engage in the mind games, the politics, then you remain in control of your life. If you let the love reign and not the worry and the mind games, you can live a life which is completely separate and disengaged with all this politics. And in many ways, it's the same with the virus. Yes, perhaps physically you might be impacted by the virus. Actually, last week for 4 days, I couldn't smell or taste anything, and I'd be lying if I said it didn't affect me in some way. But what I did each morning was I just focused on my breath. I focused on nature. I focused on love, and I focused on where I want to go in this life. Not too far away in the distant future, but thinking about my writing, my books, the sacred pause, and really looking at big picture stuff so that I know that I'm moving toward my destiny instead of just watching it from far away. But really staying in the present and being me. Perhaps one of the toughest things to get your head around is whether we should engage at all or whether we should do as the Beatles said and let it be. If we let go of absolutely everything, then I guess we'd all just be sitting there doing nothing all the time, right? And there's some people who do that, no doubt in the caves of Tibet, somewhere on top of Everest or the mountains around there. Deep in the Himalayas, there's some Tibetan monks who are literally sitting in complete silence and focusing their entire time and life on meditation and being in that incredibly Zen perspective. Maybe they're levitating above Everest as we speak, or even above us. They can be in more than one place at the same time. My feeling is that some people are meant to be in that space. But I think for most of us, perhaps the ones who were born in the Western world, we do have to engage with life. But I think the secret is not to be too attached to it, not to be attached to everything. Even that I found very complicated to get my head around when I began this journey, because I always thought, but how can I not be attached to my children? But since then, I don't know whether it's the meditation or whether it's what I've read or maybe something shifted in the planets, but I've actually realized that you can be engaged with the kids but without being attached. Non-attachment doesn't mean that you don't love that person, that you don't see them on a daily basis. No, because non-attachment is actually more about not needing this person or this thing constantly. And while some kind of bridge remains between you and that person or between you and that thing, it's not an obsession which is so strong that it actually has a negative impact on your life, that it holds you back. Now, why do you need to be in this non-attachment state? Well, if you're non-attached, then spirit can allow your life, your miracles, your true loves and true wants to happen very, very easily. Whereas if you're attached, if you say, well, yeah, I want to be a millionaire, but while I'm a millionaire, I also want to have this, and I need to have my Armani jeans and my Yves Saint Laurent bag. And I want to make sure I've still got my job because I love having my air miles. Not very useful at the moment. And I need to live in this house and have that car because if I didn't have that, then people would think that I wasn't earning enough money. This is the issue you have with attachment. The moment you free yourself from all these attachments, spirit can say, well, her dream is to write a book and to publish it and to go and do speeches all over the world and to inspire people. And let me just check, what's holding her back here? Absolutely nothing. So suddenly, instead of having loads of barriers in the way, things to jump over, all the roadblocks are taken out. and spirit can just deliver dream after dream after dream for you. And attachments can also be negative as well as positive ones. So it might not be talking about or a person that we really love, but it can also be someone that's been in our life in the past that perhaps we've got unfinished business with, but we blocked out of our life for whatever reason. But the attachment remains because they're always lurking at the back of our mind. It might be someone we've divorced. It might be an old boss. It might be a brother or a sister or a mother or a father or a child that we've fallen out with and we're not speaking to. And although we think that the ties are cut, actually they're sapping us of all our energy because they're still there. A bit like on your mobile phone when you've got those background applications that you can't really see, but are sapping all the battery from the phone. And it's these kind of attachments that can also deny us our dream. So it's really worth looking at your life and seeing where these roadblocks are. Maybe at first they're not clear. Maybe at first we think it's something very simple and something that's very present in our life, when actually it's someone that left us 10 years ago, 15 years ago, that we still haven't forgiven. And it could even be someone that isn't on this planet anymore. It might be someone that's gone, and when they died we suddenly had a huge amount of regret because we wished we'd said this to them or we wished we'd said that to them. But you know what? Don't worry if they're gone, because you can still forgive yourself for what happened. It's not about forgiving them. It's about forgiving yourself for what happened between you and them. So actually, breaking that attachment can be something which is very simple. And you can use that old Hawaiian technique of please forgive me, I'm sorry, thank you, I love you. And many people get confused because they think that's forgiving the other person. But no, actually, it's forgiving yourself. It's not necessarily very easy to do because obviously this is something which has been running for a while, or it's something that means a great deal to you. But the moment that you can forgive them, forgive yourself, and have gratitude for the lesson that they taught you and what they brought to your life, that is the moment that you rocket into the sky and suddenly feel this incredible level of peace and tranquility in your soul. It might be the whole reason you're here. So do a quick scan of everything and everyone that's in your life right now and see if you've got any of these background applications lurking deep in the jungle of your mind. And when you find them, breathe. Look outside your window. Stare at that incredible tree that's near your house. Find it deep in your soul, that feeling of forgiveness. If you're thinking, I can never forgive them, then you've got to go into your heart, deep into your heart, because in your heart, you can forgive everyone and every single thing in life. It's not easy, but I can promise you it's worth it, because if you go deep into that darkness, accept and face your truth, there's a very bright light shining. It's not always easy to see at first, but I promise you it's there. Have a beautiful autumn day. Thank you for being you. I love you all. Love and peace. Peter. Namaste.